So let's start with our project, detecting and curating harmful language and cultural heritage collections. I cannot provide you with the full, extensive overview of all the achievements we made. That's not the goal of this session today, but maybe some key facts and figures. We've been co-funded by the Digital Europe program, like the other Strand 2 project that you have heard of yesterday and will follow today. We are almost at the end, so we will run until December. We are 11 partners from the wider Europeana initiative, and the project is coordinated by the DFF, so my institution in Frankfurt. And the project outputs, so the tool and the vocabulary are also meant to enrich the offer in the data space for cultural heritage. This is the partnership. You have seen that already at the last presentation in spring, so I will just skip that. These are some initial questions we had when starting the project. How can outdated and problematic language in large archival databases be effectively addressed? How do these terms and stereotypes appear in Europeana? And how can we collaborate with communities on eye level? Because, as I already explained last time, the vocabulary that we have built in the project is not something we have invented, but we work together with communities. And the overall goal was to develop solutions for a more inclusive and respectful description of cultural heritage. So these are some of the main results. So we have developed the tool. We have compiled the vocabulary of contentious terms. We also provide context around why these terms are considered contentious, so a bit of historical and etymological background. If there are alternative suggestions, these are provided as well, and we use the vocabulary is used as the basis of the tool. We have already carried out 8 or 9 crowdsourcing campaigns, which will be wrapped up at the end of this month. We have done many community engagement activities, workshops, other kind of events. We have developed a methodology for working with communities. We have also developed a kind of theoretical framework, which is a typology for analyzing patterns of bias in cultural heritage collections. We run several capacity building events, and we created material for capacity building. As I said, this is not exhaustive. This is just a glimpse on what we did and what we achieved in the project so far. The vocabulary. So the debias vocabulary, as I said, has been created with the communities, and I'm not going to provide you with details about the community work, just to let you know that the vocabulary covers these 3 main topics: migration and colonialism, gender and sexual identity, ethnicity and ethno-religious identity. And the partners that you see here on the screen, that are mentioned here on the screen, they are working with the different communities. The vocabulary contains today 600 plus terms in 5 languages, so English, German, Dutch, French, and Italian. We didn't start from scratch, but we analyzed existing glossaries that have been created by marginalized communities. We have looked into existing projects and initiatives and also contacted them, and we have researched academic literature. The vocabulary is available also in a SCOS format. It is published in the EU vocabularies environment. It is available in PDF formats. So it's available for different kind of usages. And as I said, it has been created with the communities. This is just an excerpt of the way we are compiling the vocabulary. We are working with these Excel files, and we still do so. I will briefly guide you through the different columns that you see here. So the contentious issue description, That's what I already mentioned. We will provide you with the historical or etymological provenance of a term and why and in which context it is considered problematic. Then you have the contentious label, which is the term as such. You have a suggestion description, which gives you some hints how and in which context you can use the term or rather not use the term. It's either free text or you can also choose suggestions from a drop-down menu. We have suggested alternatives if they exist. We are also working with categories of bias because very often discrimination does not operate on a single axis but covers different areas. What we mean by when we talk about intersectionality, we provide the source, as you can see here on the right side. And what you can't see here, there's another very important column, which is called disambiguation needed. So in some cases, terms can be contentious in one context and non-contentious in another one. For example, exotic, which can be used if you describe plants or animals, but not in relation to people, or dwarf, which can be used in fairy tales, but not if you are talking about people. So, and this has already been transformed in the SCOS format, so in a machine readable format, and that's also how it is published on Workbench. So you can find here in also the columns that refer to the term. So it reflects a little bit, or it reflects the work that we did with these Excel files. The fact that it's published on Workbench in the EU vocabularies environment is, of course, a plus because it supports maintenance and sustainability in the data space. We are also in the process of getting persistent identifiers. And maybe now I will show you briefly how these flagged terms will appear or displayed on the Europeana website. So if you hover with your mouse over the term gypsy, you can see on the right side there is this little debias icon. Then you'll get this pop-up then this window opens up where you get the contentious issue description. And if you click on more, you will have the full explanation. Again, the information you can see here reflects what's in the Excel file. Yeah, but we will later on, you will also have the possibility to give feedback on this week's component. We will share with you the Figma files later on. And now I will hand over to my colleague, Christina, with a deep dive into the bias detection tool.
Yes, so regarding the bias detection tool, if you could go to the next slide, please. Perfect, thank you, Tom. Next slide, please. Yes, so here we have listed the most important information about the bias tool. So Kerstin already explained how our vocabulary is structured, and the second technical component in our project is then the tool that has been developed by ThinkCode. And this tool applies the vocabulary and uses the contextual information we provide in there as a foundation for finding biased language in metadata. It works language specific. This means that depending on the language of the metadata, only this language part of the vocabulary is applied. So this is why it's so important that the tool knows beforehand in which language a metadata is provided. And this can, of course, on the other hand, cause potential errors if language is not correctly provided or missing completely. It partially recognizes ambiguous terms, for example, exotic or dwarf. And this is something we found quite early on in the project, that there are a lot of terms that are used in different ways or with different notations, connotations, and we then tried with the use of a large language model to enable our tool to distinguish between the different contextual uses of a term within a text. The other distinction it can make is a named entity recognition. So to detect whether a term is used as part of a proper name, for example, of a person or of a place. So then it shouldn't be flagged. And the tool applies lemmatization. So in our vocabulary, we usually provide only singular forms, for example, of terms. And the tool should then also be able to detect the plural forms of these words. Next slide, please. Yes, so this is a sketch of the way of working of the tool. So on the one hand, we have the inputs. This is the language information, the text that is put into the tool for analysis, and the vocabulary where the tool gets the terms from. The next step is then the lemmatization, so finding only the root of the terms. And sorry, then first step is the tokenization, so to chop the text, so to say, down into the smallest components to analyze. Then with the lemmatization, it then matches against the terms in the vocabulary. And then we have at the end the filtering module that filters out named entities and also poses the question whether a term that is ambiguous is used in a contentious context or not. And then at the end, it will output the results. Next slide, please. Yes, so the tool identifies the problematic language that it finds, and it enables the highlighting of these terms by not only giving the term, or more specifically the URI from our vocabulary of the term that has been found, but also the positioning within a text. This allows us to provide highlighting and linking of words in a text, as you will see later on. And with the implementation we have made with the Europeana front end, for example, that Kerstin showed, with the pop-up solution we found there, we can make the context of the words understandable directly in the front end. So we build different components from the vocabulary together directly in the front end of Europeana. Next slide, please. Yes. The tool is available as an API endpoint. And from there on, we have already started to make different ways of accessing the tool or the endpoint. So today we want to show you the Tobias platform, which we call the standalone tool. So it's a web interface where people can, or users can, directly access the API endpoint via user-friendly interface. The other implementation that we want to share with you today is the integration into the Metis sandbox, which also makes use of the API endpoint. And further down the road, there will also be an integration into Mint. The last possibility would be to make customized integrations of the endpoint. If an institution has the resources to do so and wants to make, for example, a customized interface for their own database, for example. So there's a lot of flexibility here on how to use the tool. Yeah, next slide, please. Yes, so here's some screenshots of our standalone version, but I will also do a live demo in a few minutes. So you have two options there. You have the option to directly analyze text snippets just via copy and paste. So selecting the language, entering the text, and also entering one or more texts. So if you have different texts you want to analyze at once. And next slide, please. Yeah, so that's a sort of foreshadowing of the live demo I will do. So after, yeah, exactly. And after running the analysis, as I said, by reporting the exact positioning of found terms, the detected terms can then be highlighted afterwards in the interface. You will then also be able in the future to click on the terms that have been found and be redirected to the informations from the vocabulary that we provide. At the moment, as Kerstin already said, this is sort of an alpha version. We still have example URIs of these terms. So if you click on them, you will be redirected to a sort of 404 page, because at the moment you will see it's only www.example.org. So please don't be too irritated of that. We just want to make you aware of this. This is not an error. It's just that this is the alpha version of the tool. Next slide, please. The second option is to upload files to make a bulk analysis, because sometimes you have like not specific text that you want to check, but you have a bunch of records that you would like to have analyzed. And this is a use case we handle by the file upload possibility, where you also have to choose the language and then upload TXT files that are contained in a zip folder together with your email address to receive a report afterwards. Next slide, please. Yes, and now we come to the part where you are close to getting active on the tool. So next slide, yes. So we'd love to hear your feedback on 3 things today, but you are always free to choose which one you want to test. So as we said, we have the standalone tool, the integration into Meta Sandbox, and the UI UX component. We will now, yes, do a live demo of the standalone tool. Afterwards, Jochen will do a live demo of the Meta Sandbox integration. And you have already seen the UI UX component in Kerstin's presentation, but we will send out a survey afterwards where you will receive a link to these click dummies that Kerstin also showed. So don't worry if you have not seen them in detail now. You will have the chance later on in the survey to go through the click dummies at your own pace. And then provide your feedback on all these 3 different sections, or just the ones that you tested yourself in this survey. Okay, so I hope this will work now so that I can share my screen. Do you see my screen now? It should be a web interface of the device tool. Yes, okay, thank you, Maria. So if you click on the link for the standalone tool, and we will share all the links that you need afterwards in the chat. And for the people on joining on site, I have prepared a Basecamp post that you can access. You will be redirected to this web interface. And there you have for the option to directly copy paste text, you have these 3 steps that you need to fill out. So we have 1, the selection of the language. I will use English for now. Then you have the 2 operations that I explained before. So if you want to enable named entity recognition on the text, you want to check, you can just slide this button. And if you want to enable disambiguation because you think that a text contains words that are only contentious in certain contexts, you can enable this. And then finally, you can enter here the text you want to analyze. Let's see. Yes. So here I have just used some dummy text. This text contains the term gypsies. And then the last step would be to say run. And then it takes a couple of seconds, shouldn't take long. And then the tool displays to you where a contentious term has been found. And as I said, it is a link behind this term, but if you click on this, you will see that it's just an example domain. One example to take, for example, to demonstrate you the disambiguation functionality. So here I have a German example now. So I have to choose German, and the term race is in our vocabulary. So if I would run this just like this, it would highlight me the term. But if I enter disambiguation, because in this case, actually it refers to a sort of race of a cow, it would not flag the term because it detects that it's actually talking about an animal here. So please try out the different functionalities in the language of your choice. I have to say that we have encountered some problems with French today. So if you are using the tool for French and you see, okay, it doesn't seem to work properly, maybe switch to English instead if that's okay for you. The other option is to upload a file. So here as well, I choose now, for example, sake English. I say, okay, I want to enable these two operations if I would like. The next step would then to upload a zip file and choose a zip file containing TXT records and provide my email address, and then click on submit file. I will just do this now. So it will then send the report of the analysis to my email address. And in order for you to test this file upload functionality, we have already provided a bunch of test records in a TXT format, so you don't have to worry now about the proper formatting. But if you want to test your own files, it's really just opening an editor, putting some text in there, saving it as a TXT file. And if you have several files, one record is one file, zipping it up and loading it up into the tools platform. The report usually takes a couple of minutes, so don't worry if it's not immediately in your email inbox, or maybe check the spam folder as well. You will there find a PDF report and the JSON output that really tells you where in a text a specific term has been found. I am not going to demonstrate this because it would take too much time, but we also like to hear your feedback on the report if you want to test this file upload functionality. Okay, so this is the standalone tool. We will provide you with all the links to the tool and to this file here with some example text that you can just copy paste, and the links to the TXT files. And now I'm going to hand over to Jochen, who will show you a quick demonstration of how you can test the integration into the Metis sandbox.
Yeah. Hi, good morning, everyone. Now let me see if I can share my screen from here. This one. I hope you can see my screen. You should see the regular sandbox upload dataset screen right now. If not, please shout. I can only agree with Kerstin's assessment earlier that this is very much an alpha version. And indeed, this was deployed yesterday morning in one of our development environments. So it's not on the regular sandbox link. So if you do wish to test this later, I'm going to post in the chat the link of this environment. It will be available to you for the duration of this session. Obviously, the aim is to release this properly in the next release of the sandbox as an application. I have here already set the parameters for uploading this data set. So I have this small test data set that I use. So once you submit, yeah, you'll see the main bug that is still there. You'll see it in progress because the debias link is available a lot earlier than it should be. So I'll go and press submit now, and you'll see that the data set will start running, and we'll need to wait till it's completely finished before we can access any of the debias functionality. Here we go. I'll zoom in a little bit. So now you see it is running on the multiple, on the various steps that Sandbox always performs. And you see here in the top right, the debias link available. So do not click it yet. We will remove it in the next version, of course, at this stage. So we'll have to wait until the publish state underneath here at the bottom is completely finished and all files are published. And only then does the link do what it's supposed to do. And now it's there. So basically, once you see the view published records link, which is the link that will take you to the second instance of the Europeana website for you to preview. Once that link is available, you can also click on the run report. This is going to trigger the detection in the backend. So this is going to start the process of sending values in batches of size 20 or something like that to the tool, to the same API that the tool that you just saw is using. So it's the same application that's doing the detection. And it's going to sort of slowly fill the list of found detections. Now, because there's only 5 records here, it's going to go quite quickly. So once I run it, I'll have it will start running it, and then I have the option to view it. I'll click again to open a nice little pop-up where you will see all sorts of detections. So each occurrence of a contentious term will have one of those blobs, one of those rows in the table in it. You'll see for each of them, you'll see the ID of the record where it was found. You'll see the field where it was found. In this case, it's a description field. This looks a bit ugly, but we'll make this nicer in the next version. The language as well. And here you'll see sort of the value, the literal value in the record, and then in yellow highlighted the term. Also here, same as with the demo you just saw, the term itself is clickable, but it will not do anything. It will take you to this example URL. So yeah, there's no point in doing that now. Later, obviously, it will link to the vocabulary properly. In this case, there are quite a few because obviously it's my test data set. It might be that maybe in your data set there aren't any, in which case there should be a nice message saying like we didn't find any contentious terms in your data set. And that's it. And you can sort of this report will remain available at any time. So as long as your data set is alive in the sandbox, the report will be there. And you can always come back to it. You don't have to run it again or wait for it again. It will save the results and it will remain accessible at any time. That's what I have. I will post the link to this specific environment in the chat. I think my colleague Jorge, who spent a lot of time working on this feature as the developer, is in the room as well, so he can help out with people who are on site. And I think that covers it for me. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Jochen.